Hello everyone, and welcome to the second Friday of the month and my first intentional living Friday. Today I wanted to talk about getting my life together because as a 30-year-old human being woman, I have really had a hard time with this. I talk a lot about self-care and my habits, but one thing I have not talked about, just like on a very basic self-care level, is taking care of like my physical body. For me, taking care of myself is not about willpower. It is essentially about getting to the point where the idea of doing the thing that I'm afraid of has become less scary than not doing the thing that I'm afraid of. So I have been in a place of fear for so long that it's actually scarier to stay in that place than it is to just do the thing that I'm afraid of. And that for me is always the point of change. And I want to say that because I think that there is a lot of talk around willpower and also just generationally, this generation being really lazy and unwilling to just do the basic things that we need to do as adults. I think we as millennials just get ripped apart and we are called lazy and unwilling to do the things that adults should be able to do. And I think it's a lot more complex and complicated than that. We have grown up in a time of, a financial crisis and 9/11 and living in a time where there's more information available than humans are used to consuming. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And so what I want to do is break down my experience of taking care of myself from the point of procrastination all the way through to the point of doing the thing that I need to do. Let's start at procrastination, my good old friend. Procrastination is really about two things: fear and overthinking. I may be thinking in my head, well, I don't know how to do that thing, or I'm not going to do it perfectly enough, so why even bother? I may just be in my head imagining things instead of actively taking steps to do those things. I think I have been down every single path of overthinking. I can go down the path of like all the best case scenarios, the worst case scenarios. I can think of everything in between, and that takes a lot of time. You can spend a whole day, weeks, months, years doing that. What I've realized is the more that I put something off, the more that I'm actively working against myself, and then that can lead to a lot of guilt and shame. So what I have been practicing more is when I realize that I'm actively working against myself, I ask myself, is this something that I want to do? Instead of going directly to the place of guilt and shame. For some reason, when I frame it that way, when I'm able to see that in some cases I'm the one that's doing this to myself, it makes me feel like I have more control over the situation, because if I am the one getting myself into this, I can also get myself out of it. We're leaving procrastination. Whew. Okay, we're leaving the island of procrastination. We're on a little boat here. And now we're going to the island of solutions. So the first big thing for me is to try not to be so mean to myself when I have been procrastinating. So I've been on Procrastination Island. I've taken the boat over to Solutions Island, and I should just thank myself that I'm on Solutions Island, or that I just got in the boat and decided to row to Solutions Island. It's really about taking myself out of that negative spiral, which is really hard. Being gentle with myself helps. And I think one of the most helpful things that I have learned is to talk about whatever it is that I am putting off or afraid of with other people, to say those things out loud. So I will give you an example. I have been afraid since moving to New York of finding all new doctors, like a therapist, having just a new like general practice doctor, dermatologist, dentist, like you name it, I'm afraid of it. My first step was finding a new therapist because I could really feel myself getting to this like antsy point, just mentally and emotionally. And I knew that I could keep going down this path and it would get worse. Or I could get a therapist, which I knew historically would make me feel better. I started talking about that with other people. Some people had moved from across the country and had gone through exactly the same thing. Other people were like, oh my God, I need to find a therapist too, and I'm so afraid. Other people were like, it took me some time to build up the courage to find a therapist, but I did, and here's how I found them. You know, I think hearing these different experiences made me feel like, okay, this can be done. And I also think there's something deeper behind saying something out loud. Not only are you able to talk about it with other people, but I feel like whenever you say that thing out loud, like I need to find a therapist, you are more likely to find that in the world. And you are able to see like little openings within the universe and on your life path where you see like, oh, I think that could be possible. I see this like kind of opening up over here. That looks like something I could explore a little bit more. And I found that the more that I talk about things that I'm afraid of, I see those openings more and more and more. And I see people who can help me along those paths. The next thing on Solutions Island is taking small steps. This is advice that I remember my dad giving me when I was younger and I would be like freaking out about something. I don't know what I was freaking out about as a kid. I really don't know. I remember he would always tell me to take baby steps and to focus on the next thing that was right in front of me. I think what happens, at least for me, is that I often go from the point where I am now, which is doing nothing, to the point that I'm afraid of, and that seems so big and scary. Going from here to then imagining myself sitting in front of a new therapist, like divulging all of my life, or sitting in a dentist chair, or laying naked on a dermatologist table and then being like flipped over and like examined every crevice of my body, like that sounds so terrifying, going from here to there. What I've realized is that when I take things in baby steps and in small incremental steps over time, I slowly start getting closer to that thing that seems so big and scary. As I continue to take these small steps, I realize, oh, the next step that I have to take is that big scary thing that I was so afraid of, but it doesn't seem so scary because it just seems like the next logical step. Okay, so now we're gonna leave Solutions Island. We're gonna get in our boat. We're gonna row. We gotta do the work of rowing, and we're gonna go to the next island, which is Community Island. I never really understood until more recently how important community is to me. This is something that I so often would leave out of my process in the past because I was so focused on like, I gotta achieve. That's what it felt like. I have a couple examples of how I have found community in my life. The first is a book club. We have been in this book club for almost a year now, and in this last year I have seen every single person in the group grow so much. We have been there for each other in so many different ways. Every time we meet, we give each other updates on what is going on in our lives, and this keeps me accountable to do the things that I say I want or need to do, because I don't want to keep showing up every week and saying, well, I'm in the same place. Nothing's changed. It's so different when you have to show up and talk to a group of people and tell them what's going on in your life. It makes you want to make progress. The other community that I've found is through the Wing, which is an inclusive co-working space. I think there's something really special about being in an environment where you can just feel everyone there working towards something, and that is so motivating to me. The community part of this has been the biggest game changer for me, because I really think that that is where just that big energy comes from. That energy that keeps me accountable and keeps me from going back into these spirals of procrastination. And in between that, I have baby steps that I can take as well. That is going to be it for my first intentional living video. If there's something that you would like me to talk about in the future, please let me know down below in the comments, and let me know what your experience has been like around procrastinating, and if you have, struggled to take care of yourself and do the things that we're told adults should just automatically be able to do. I would love to know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you get notified when I post new videos. I will see you next week in a beauty video. Bye.